Hello, fabulous Libra. Welcome to your horoscope for the month of April 2015, General Focus. I am your astrologer, Nadiya Shah. Thank you for being here. What a big month it is for you, a truly important month for you. And I do think, without a doubt, as you look back at this year, if not for many years to come, this will be a time when you really felt a shift and your life changed notably and likely for the better. And it really starts with you. It really comes down to you. We have an eclipse taking place. It is speaking right to the heart of you. Now, those of you born right around the 4th or the 5th of the month are going to be experiencing this, feeling this energy more than others might. However, all Libras out there will notice a change. It will be, without a doubt, notable to you and to those around you as well. So we've got this eclipse happening. And I mentioned it last month. I said, whatever happens last month, don't worry too much about it because you got an eclipse coming up. And this is where things are really going to change. Big game-changing eclipse, speaking right to the heart of you. This eclipse is speaking with Pluto. It's speaking with Uranus. It's speaking with Mercury. It's speaking with Jupiter as well. And this really inspires me. This really gives me hope because ultimately this eclipse is about the truth coming out, bare bones and all, being honest with yourself, with another, and others being honest with you, and from there finding real reasons for optimism and inspiration. So, as I look at the sky, I think that, one of the things that just came to my mind was about identity, because that's what I think this is really going to speak to for you. And how in life we begin to identify with things that ultimately are either no longer who we are or not who we really are, okay? So where it is in your life that you have become very identified with something that you know on a very deep level, maybe you haven't wanted to admit it, maybe you've been fighting it, but you know this is no longer who you are. This is going to be the big change moment for you coming up this month. So when I see a sky like this, I got to tell you, I've seen vegans start eating meat again. I've seen people, meat eaters, diehard carnivores, go vegan. I've seen people quit using drugs. That's been a biggie. I've seen people sort of even come to understand their own identity, sort of move beyond where they very strongly identified with their culture in the past or their culture of origin or their religion of the past. They come to understand that they are actually more elevated than that ultimately these are very superficial labels for them and where they are in their journey. And really it is this, whatever's closest to your heart is set to get a moment of honesty. And I cannot stress enough, it is a big time for you. And this is a time ultimately that is leading you to become more you than you knew yourself to be before, to step into a more honest version of yourself at that. Now, I do have to say that we've got all these conversations, all these other power players in the sky. Mercury standing across says to me that it's very likely that a conversation is going to trigger some of this, a one-on-one interaction, possibly with a partner. Now, I will talk a little bit more about this in the love-focused horoscope, but for now we can say that there is likely to be some changes taking place with people with whom you are aligned. They are going to serve as catalysts to your awareness, and it is likely going to be, for some people out there, I'm very interested in this whole idea as I look at the sky for you about projection, okay? How sometimes, and this whole idea of projection essentially is that when there is an attribute of ourselves that we're not willing to look at, we can at times project them out to others. We say that this other person is all these things that we are not because we don't want to admit that ultimately these are qualities within ourselves. From time to time, I like to mention a little book of essays by Julia Kristeva called Strangers to Ourselves. It's a series of philosophical essays. And I read this as an undergraduate student many, many years ago. I can't believe how long ago it was now. But it really had a huge impact. And I share this with you because in this series of essays, she explores this very idea of how we we sort of cast other people aside as others, as foreign, as different, as bad, because ultimately we don't want to acknowledge that these are actually attributes within us. And the same way that how, you know, sometimes in a relationship, for example, one person can be really jealous of the other person, and it's usually because the person who is jealous either has thoughts or has done something that they know that if the other person knew, they would be jealous. And so they're sort of accusing this other person and feeling these emotions that ultimately they know are rooted in the fact that that is who they are. And they're projecting these feelings of whether it's unfaithfulness or potential unfaithfulness or not wholly being enough. Ultimately, they project this onto the other person because that's how they think that person sees them. So, big month, right out of the gate. We've got this eclipse early in the month. Flow with it. Flow with it. It's the best advice I can give you. Surrender, surrender, surrender. Pluto's involved, okay? There's not going to be a lot of control here. It really is going to be the universe stepping in to align you with a higher vision for your life, even if it doesn't make sense to a lot of people around you, okay? And it may not, I gotta say, and it may come completely out of the blue, even to you. But this is a realization that ultimately is meant to cleanse you from the inside out, and as such, realign you with a higher vision for your life in every area of life. It isn't just about realigning you more with you, but that change and understanding of who you are really changes just about everything. It is that big a month. And as I said, end of the year, you will look back and see that this month really is when a lot of things changed for you, and very much for the better. You will be lightening your load. You will be reconsidering what it is that you've been carrying for way too long and deciding to put it down because it's no longer who you are. And as a result, being freed in the process and being opened to all the amazing opportunities that are available in the world for you, and the expansion of opportunities that then become available to you. As we progress in the second part of the month, we are going to have a new moon happening in a part of the sky for you that has to do with partnerships as well. And so when I see this and the fact that in the early part of the month, this particular eclipse, speaking with Mercury, as I said, people are going to be a catalyst here, a relationship likely to be a catalyst here. It suggests to me that there is going to be some new start, some fresh understanding, but it is likely going to in some way be influenced by the events that take place in the early part of the month. So stuff comes up in the early part of the month. It doesn't feel so secure, doesn't feel so, leaves you feeling less than confident. Don't worry about it. Absolutely not. Focus on yourself. You will navigate it. You'll navigate it well. And on the other side, you will find yourself with a fresh perspective and a fresh understanding and a new start at that in the alliances that matter to you most, and also finding new alliances at that to help you achieve whatever it is that you desire, to help you bring forward a much more honest version of yourself and a more authentic expression of who you really are. And that's really what it comes down to. This is about stepping into the truth of who you are, standing in it, claiming it, and being it, regardless of the consequence. And you will find that if you do that in a spirit of love and in a spirit of self-love, you can't help but attract more of that in return.